So this morning, I got an inquiry from someone. They were a bit exasperated. They've just finished off paying their mortgage, and then the next thing they get from the bank is you need to pay attorneys again to cancel that bond that you had registered at the beginning of our relationship so that you can get what? You can get your title deed. This person calls me and is so exasperated, but and they say, why do I have to pay for this? Where did this come from? I feel like this is a scam. This is something that I hear a lot, right? And it's understandable. It's because a lot of people tend to not understand, the cost implications, in particular when it comes to property purchases and other things. And, when it comes to paying off these things, that's when they actually get the idea of, okay, this is what I was in for, right? So today I just want to talk about three decisions that I just want you to be mindful of as you're about to take them. Think carefully about them so that you know exactly what you're getting into. Right. For those that don't know me, my name is Yolanda Mnyangeza. I'm an attorney and director of a law firm here in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we mainly focus on trusts, estate planning, wills, etc. Right. So there's three main decisions which I've noted that people often approach us for assistance, or to get advice on a lot, right? And normally when they do approach us, it's not a matter of saying, can you advise me? I'm about to enter into this type of transaction. They're already in this transaction, but now, they're getting surprises, things that they never expected, which were never brought to their attention according to them. And unfortunately, they were expecting that those things be brought to their attention, and that's not how things work. Let's talk about these. Number one, purchasing of a vehicle. People often do not understand that certain line items that they end up paying for are often illegal in terms of South African law, but because of the excitement and the lack of knowledge, they often pay for those, and they get so exasperated when they find out later that they actually were cajoled into actually paying things that they were not supposed to pay for. Secondly, the issue of purchasing a vehicle. You often will find that people choose this option of a balloon, which actually means that you don't have to pay a deposit at the beginning, but they don't understand what this means for when the contract comes to an end. So when they're happy that, okay, now I'm finally done paying off this vehicle, then boom, surprise, don't forget, I'm here, balloon payment. Then people often become so disgruntled by this, and they often would want legal advice in this regard. So my advice often is, before you enter into such transactions, or before you choose, i.e., an option such as a balloon option, understand what it is, question this person as much as possible, the salesperson, right? Because obviously a salesperson is trying to sell, whatever it is that they're selling to you, i.e., in this matter, a car, right? So they don't have the time to be bringing to your attention things that will put you off. So then it's your responsibility to do what? To do your own due diligence, to ask the questions so that you know that exactly what you're entering into is what you know. Second, type of transaction where I've seen a lot of people don't really get to understand exactly what they're entering into is when they're purchasing a property. Like I always say, what I see a lot is the fact that when people talk about buying a property, a lot of the times it's focused on excitement. And so, the excitement often makes a person lose the objectivity and makes them not to take the time to do their due diligence because they can't wait for this to happen. Others are good at actually doing due diligence and they make sure, but others get so excited, especially first time homeowners, or property purchasers. Now, the problem with this is, number one, they often find out when, they've already signed, now they have to start paying, that they have to now pay for a lot of things that they never knew that they were going to pay for. And by this time, they are being sent invoices by their attorneys. Please settle this, please settle that. And then they would come forward and say, is there a possibility I can get out of this? Because this is not what I expected. And in actual fact, I'm short of cash to be able to pay for these things. So now you tell them that, listen, you've signed. Time has been wasted here. If you go to these people to say you're canceling, obviously it will come with costs. Even if we were to fight for you to get out of this, costs which will just go to those people. And they tend to be very expensive when it comes to property transactions, right? So either way, a person will be at a loss. So think about these things prior. Some people get surprises that they have to pay for things like registering a bond. Why do you have to register it? They also get surprised when they have to cancel that same bond using their own money. So you need to just educate yourself so that you're not as disgruntled, right? And I see this when somebody has, like I said before, somebody has finished off paying the property. Now they are free. They're like, yeah. And then the bank says, don't forget, cancel the bond, then we'll give you the title deed. So you just need to know these things so that you're not as disgruntled. And I think the worst part with regards to property purchases is when somebody has already purchased the property and has already, approved the bond, etc., and they're already staying at the property, and then a year later they're like, can we sell this thing? Is there a way in which I can get out of this? What are the legal implications? And I always tell them that, okay, you can get out, but it comes with a lot of financial consequences that you must know. Imagine you bound yourself to a 20-year relationship with a bank, and now within a year you have to get out. So many costs are going to be applicable here, and you can rest assured that you will still be paying for costs even though they have taken back the property, because thinking about the interest that they put in there, the additional costs that were also calculated, so you canceling early as well, all of those things are going to count against you, and you're going to end up losing a property but owing the bank irrespective. Right? So it comes with a lot of negative consequences. And unfortunately, a lot of people have had to exercise that option. And unfortunately, their lives changed not for the better because of this situation. Others have had to stay in those properties because when they think about losing a property and also having to pay, it's just even worse. But now they can't even afford to be in those properties. But because of the circumstances and the situation, they end up having to stay in those properties. So understand the cost implications. And also when you're thinking about buying a property, think about it expansively. You're not only going to be paying back the purchase price. You have to pay utilities. What kind of property are you staying at? You have to pay a lot of things. So think critically and clearly and sit down so that you can understand these implications, particularly the legal and the financial implications. And then the third decision that I see a lot where people don't really think about or understand exactly what they're entering into is when people are taking out a policy, whether it be a funeral policy or a life policy. Now, what happens again with this decision is that, number one, they don't know what restrictions are there, and then they get to find these out when it's at the claim stage. Too late, because now you are bound by those terms. Also, later on, people tend to find out that, okay, this type of policy with regards to the terms and conditions, it's not exactly what we were looking for. The benefits are not useful for our family. But now, remember, when time has gone, you are old, it's difficult for you to make a decision to cancel a policy because now age is going to have an implication, and you have had a standing policy that you've been paying for years. Imagine letting that go. And people now want to exercise the options of ceding this policy, and it comes with a lot of implications, and often there's a lot of financial loss. So when you're about to take out a policy, just understand, sit down with a financial planner or a financial advisor to understand if it's going to meet the necessary needs of your family. Because again, somebody selling a policy to you, they are also trying to make a living. So they're not going to take a lot of time trying to see if this is going to work for you. It's your job, all right, to do your own due diligence. So be careful. I'll see you next time.